198 on a disobeyed traffic sign. When are you gonna? Okay, Mr. Young, you owe 198 on a disobeyed traffic sign. When are you gonna pay?
Can I?
Every time we start off with the well, it gets tricky.
Okay. Well, so back when I started,
There's a lot of like. I had a very specific question. When are you gonna pay?
I can pay something next. Probably in like 2-3 weeks. I could probably put like 100 maybe.
Okay, you're working?
Uber.
You got a car?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
It could be same thing. I have my insurance. I have everything.
You drive Uber.
Yes.
Okay, and so you're gonna pay $100 by when?
Next, give me. I need about 3.
I'll give you 30 days.
All right.
To pay $100.
Okay.
And you'll pay the balance within 60 days.
All right. Oh, I have. Okay, so I only got this.
I didn't even ask.
Right.
I don't even, because it doesn't matter to me how you got it.
But what I'm saying is, I never got a court date on this.
You got the ticket in your hand?
That's all I got is this. And I never got a court date.
Appearance date, on or before 3 to 14 days.
Right.
You see that on your ticket?
On this one?
Yes.
Like this thing. This is the something they sent me in the mail.
No, you had a ticket. You got this ticket on November 28th.
Right, 28th.
2024.
And when I got that ticket, they did not send me the letter for the court. They did not send me the letter for the court.
What letter for the court?
For me to come to court, because I took it to court. I took that to court, and I did not get a letter at all. To court? The ticket.
Good enough. You didn't appear in court. That's how you got it.
Right. They did not send me the letter to tell me what day it was.
How did you take something to court? Did you come up and request a hearing date?
Yes, I did.
When?
I called up and I requested it.
That's not how this works. When did you come up and request a hearing?
I called the number that they said call. I called the number. I talked to the lady. The lady said, you don't have to come in. She said, I can set it up for you right now. And she set it up for me. They did not send me no letter. All I got was a letter talking about, I owed you guys $160.
It says here on December 16th, you denied responsibility. It was set for a hearing with the magistrate, Magistrate Milmore.
And I did not receive it.
Well, it was supposed to be, you were supposed to appear on the 2nd of January. You didn't appear. And so here we are in September, way too far for me to even remove a default.
Oh, see,
you gotta pay it. So that's why I said how we got here doesn't matter anymore because we're beyond the time frame for me to return around. I can't
try to take care of it, and they sent me away.
I don't know who sent you away.
They sent me away talking about
who sent you away. Tell me their name.
The front desk man.
The front desk.
The dude at the front desk.
The dude at the front desk.
Yes.
Who's the dude at the front desk?
I don't know his name.
Okay.
The guy at the front desk.
The guy at what front desk?
The clerk right here.
Okay, so that's not a front desk.
Well,
this is the court. At the clerk,
the
someone in the clerk's office, the criminal clerk's office, you said sent you away?
Right here, yes.
Okay, but you met with the magistrate, it says.
No, I never met with
nobody. I'm just telling you the record here. You denied responsibility.
Huh?
Whose initials is CHA? Wisconsin. Okay, the clerk's office put that you denied responsibility, meaning you wanted to take it to a hearing. Was what you're just telling me?
Yes.
Yes. On the 16th of December. It's September.
I know, and I've been wondering what's been going on.
Oh, so you should be sitting at home wondering.
All I got was a letter that said, I owe you guys $160.
When did you get that letter?
Somewhere around February or so. Was it close around February?
Oh, and you just now came in?
No, I came in. I wish I had the letter that I had came down
when
here.
You came in,
because I came down here and talked to the clerk down here. And they were trying to make me pay a bond to, it was $160. I had to pay a bond to even see you again. They told me I had to pay $160 bond to see you.
A bond for what?
A bond to bond it over. Does
he have another matter?
He did it on
this one. You got, I don't understand. A bond for what?
It was I don't know. There was a payment with Cody. 165. I don't
Why,
know.
what is the date on that? Because the register action they put in here is from,
The date
December.
on that one was February 3rd. Monetary transaction, payment, cash and case closed. Let me, did they give it?
void receipt.
I don't know.
Yes, a void receipt minus 165. So I see where it says payment 65, but then they voided it. So what does that mean?
So what did, you gotta ask Cody.
Can you print that, please?
Yeah.
Is Marquita?
Yeah, whatever. I'm fine just dealing with it. If I knew I was in default and I was on, I would waste your time, honest. I would just do what we got to do, and I'll be out that door and be at home. But honestly, I never got a chance to even come to approach you guys to talk about that matter in the first place. They didn't even send me a letter. I waited. I take care of all these problems.
Thank you.
And
Sir,
I need my license for work.
Sir.
And it was mailed, it would have been mailed to
Okay.
this address.
Thank you. What's your address?
7526. Just
Well, that was where the notice was mailed on on December 18th, 2024.
for the first hearing.
For the second hearing, you had an informal hearing with the magistrate on the 18th.
I never been down here at all.
You had to have
to
request a formal hearing.
No, I have not been down here at all to talk to anybody. I called the lady. The lady said,
You called and requested an informal
You
hearing.
called and requested a
And then
formal
we
hearing.
scheduled
Yes.
it. This is right here on the 16th. So she scheduled it 2 days later. And then it was scheduled for January 2nd.
Where did you say you called?
No, we don't have it that they
Oh.
called. If they can come in, they can call, they can send a letter. It's just he denied responsibility separate informal hearing.
Yeah, I know. I told him I saw that he denied responsibility on the 16th.
Yeah, and
So
then
it
we
was set
scheduled.
for a hearing 2 days after you called.
right. So therefore, she told me 2 to 3 weeks, I will be finding out.
Yeah, you listen, and don't talk.
Okay.
You called on the 16th of December, 2024. On the 18th of December, notices were generated and mailed to the address that we have, which you said is still your address.
Yes, it
Because
did
he
not
didn't-
show up. I got this one, but I
because
didn't
he did
get
not
that
have
one.
the
That's-
default.
I didn't get the most important one.
We can't.
But you didn't call and find out what happened to it. If your
I
mail
did call.
if your mail gets lost, you can't decide it's our problem.
No,
I said, listen, and don't talk over me. If it was generated and sent to you, this is the file. When mail comes back to us, because it wasn't delivered, it gets attached. There's nothing here indicating that your mail came back. So that means it was sent out and delivered to the address that was on file. Your date was scheduled for the 2nd of January. You were told, because you just said it on my record, that it'll be 2 to 3 weeks before you were gonna have a hearing. When 2 to 3 weeks came and you didn't have a hearing date, you should have been on the next thing smoking into this building to find out when was my hearing date, because I didn't receive notice of it. You did not do that, sir. The next time we heard from you was after you received the notice of default, which was mailed the same way we mailed the notice for you to appear in court. That was in February of 2025. And so you came and he told you it was Jonathan Jonathan Cody at the desk that you called the front desk. He told you that you had to post a bond in order to reopen the case.
yes.
And he looks like he tried to put it on there, and that's what I called her in for, because I saw where it was taken back off and they voided the receipt. I just wanted to confirm that you hadn't paid anything, and you didn't pay anything.
Right. You're right. I did pay anything.
And so since then, and then you did it, so then you didn't reopen the case because you didn't post the bond. And then on top of that, now a late fee gets added because you didn't do anything. You could have came then, if you had posted the bond, it would have been reopened. And then you could have requested to have the default set aside. You didn't do that.
All right.
So now you have to pay it.
I can't say nothing about what
Yeah,
you just said.
you can't get a ticket and then make it the court's responsibility when you didn't get your mail. Because the court's responsibility after you request a hearing is to send you notice of said hearing, which this is not a system where we're going and putting a note. Once that hearing was generated, it automatically put a note in the system. Hearing notice generated. And so it was sent to the address we have on file. It did not come back non-deliverable.
What if it could have got lost?
That's not the court's
I know,
responsibility.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying it got lost at my house. I'm just saying, what if it did not come at all?
It's still not the
I'll
court's
just be honest with
responsibility. It still is not our responsibility.
Right.
It is your responsibility to keep up with your legal matters. If you have a ticket and you know that you're supposed to get a hearing within 2 to 3 weeks, and 2 to 3 weeks come and go and you don't get a hearing, it's your responsibility to find out where the notice went. I didn't receive a notice. Was I supposed to have a hearing? And if you had a call before the 2nd of January, they would have told you, yes, you have a hearing and you should have received a notice and your hearing is on the 2nd. If you had a call shortly after that, they would have said, you just missed your hearing. You were supposed to be here on the 2nd. And then you would have been able to address it and have it set aside. You can't now appear in court in September and want to go back in time and tell me that you never received the mail. At this point, you have to pay it. And we just talked about your payment plan. You're going to pay
Just gonna do it.
$100 within 30 days and then 60 days to pay the balance. Okay, so in the future, when you're told it's gonna take about 2 weeks, 3 weeks is a little extra. If you set a civil matter, a traffic matter for a hearing, within 2 weeks, if you haven't received the notice, you call the court and find out what your date is.
Right.
You don't sit around twiddling your thumbs. You'll get a default.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And then you're responsible. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, you're all set.
This is a right, Justin. Put him in the right.
Thank you. Did you let Susan know?
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Do you want a lawyer? Yes or no? It's a real easy question, sir. It don't take all day. Listen here. Okay, if you don't answer the question, I'm going to release the lawyers. If that's what, because you've been complaining the whole time about, I didn't ask for no state attorney. I don't want to, I don't know whatever you going to do. No, I'm not doing anything. I didn't appoint the person in the first place. I didn't do it. Okay, so you don't want them? Is that what you're telling me?
Can you please state your full name for the record?
See what's there.
All right, Mr. Dansby, we're back. Do you mind having Ms. Miller stand in for Mr. Gonick for today's hearing?
I thought to the court, I still reserve my right. I mentioned all of the previous hearings, but part of today's process has been going what's going to continue doing what it's doing, but I still.
Does that mean you don't mind her standing in?
Want to interpret.
Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna play that game. That's a yes or no question.
Howdy.
Okay, do you want to adjourn it and see who it is? You have a right to have the counsel of record present if you want to be here instead of Miss Miller. And this is basically for a probable cause conference and adjourn date on a retail fraud first degree. When we had adjourned it before for your lawyers to get video discovery. So do you mind her standing in or no? Okay, so you don't want a lawyer, sir? I'll release him if you don't want one. Nobody's gonna force you to have a lawyer to help you. If you want to do it all yourself, do it. Do you want me to release the lawyers?
You know, thank for him soon right now.
Do you want a lawyer? Yes or no? It's a real easy question, sir. It don't take all day. Listen here. Okay, if you don't answer the question, I'm going to release the lawyers. If that's what, because you've been complaining the whole time about, I didn't ask for no state attorney. I don't want to, I don't know what it, whatever you gonna do. No, I'm not doing anything. I didn't appoint the person in the first place. I didn't do it. Okay, so you don't want them? Is that what you're telling me? Do you want them? Yes or no?
All on the same. Plane.
Sir, listen, this is not going to be a matter of semantics. Do you want one or not? Because nobody's going to force a lawyer on you. I'll be happy to handle this case with you by yourself, doing whatever you can do to help yourself. If that's what you want.
I still ain't got my discovery, so.
So, do you want a lawyer?
I'm sorry, I'm still on the same thing I think.
I don't even know what that is. Whatever your claim is, I don't know. Okay, let's release the lawyers. All right. Now, you're not getting another one. I'm just telling you.
I reserve the right for judiciary and judiciary finding on the legitimacy of the court.
You're not getting another lawyer, okay?
Boy, I said
I don't know whatever. What you can reserve what you want. I don't mind.
finding the other court and the legitimacy of the court as far as the
Sir, whatever you want to do, you can do. But since you don't want a lawyer, I can't by law give you one. So.
That was three adjournments ago.
Guess what? So,
Lord, have you given me the things that I need?
okay, sir, nobody can give you anything but a piece of paper. They can give you that. They could give you the police report. They cannot give you the videos because there's no way for you to watch them.
Make sure that the law library at the court, give an order that the law library at the court either have a clerk or somebody to present the information for me to see the video. I don't know. Maybe you just don't want to get done.
Sir, I don't even know. I don't know anything about your law library wherever. All I know is these video files, they're files. They come on a computer.
So the law library should get somebody to be giving people at the law library a heads up to make it.
Well, you know what? That's up to you to figure out how you gonna get them.
I'll let the second sort figure it out. Second circuit figure it. DOJ, probably judge, second court, Supreme Court, we let them figure it out. I'm straight. Well, I ain't doing nothing.
Ready for me to take them.
Your Honor, would you like, Mr. Donovan to file any sort of motion or
No,
hold order to have him withdraw?
no, I'm gonna write an order out right now, releasing him.
Your Honor.
And so we will reset this, I guess. I don't know why we got him. We could actually bring him back out. He could decide what he wants to do today.
I do know that, he is wanting to have his preliminary examination. That is.
Okay, well, let's set it for an exam then. How many witnesses, Mrs. Shockley?
Probably just me one.
All right. You want to wait for your order, you can.
Okay, thank you. One witness.
Right.
Yeah, one witness and one defendant that's gonna make it way longer than it's supposed to be. So factor that in.
Court's available October 3rd at 10:30.
All right. So October 3rd at 10:30. Is the exam date. And could you ask Mr. Gonick to make sure he gets a discovery, what he has, over to this person?
I believe that paper discovery has already been given to him. I'll see if the court or if the jail will allow us to give any sort of thumb drive or anything like that that encloses the videos.
This record, I would advise the court the discovery, the AV discovery in this matter is 99% police body one camera, which has the defendant in it, and there's only one in-store video of the defendant walking past the exit. So. You
Okay.
didn't know it.
Okay. Well, good. Just make sure he sees it. Just some of your best efforts on that. And here's the order. In the terms of she was steal it for. What did I get? Yeah, I did. Let's see. Mhm.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Good morning. All right, Mr. Clerk, your name again.
Dylan Clark, P 88474.
We adjourn this motion to set aside default judgment, right? Mr. Clark?
I wasn't aware of that, Your Honor. If that's true or not.
I don't remember why I did that, Linda. Do you have any notes? I adjourned it all the way. Were you guys going to check
Yes,
into this fraud? Was that maybe it? He claims there was fraud.
I'm not seeing anything in my system. I'm not seeing anything in my system that indicates that we looked into fraud here.
Why did I adjourn this, Mr. Bosquet? Can you tell me?
Say again, please.
Why did I adjourn this again? Can you tell me? You were here in July about this. I don't know why I adjourned it.
Because I was talking where I could be heard.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may, we did contact our client, and our client provided us statements. It appears that the defendant was he claimed that some of the charges weren't his, and we since have received those statements, and everything looks good on our end from what we received from our client.
What do you mean by that? It means that you think that he did use those or make
Yes.
these purchases?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Sir, why should I set aside the default judgment here? Why should I set aside the default judgment?
What does that mean?
I mean, you can't just come in and tell me, Judge, that we've been scammed by Publishers Clearinghouse. What is this transaction? RTN direct debit payment Kona, post date August 21, $10,039.91. Can you tell me, counsel?
Direct debit Kona. I am looking at that statement.
That appears to be the source of the complaint, right? I don't know what it is. Sir, did you have a Capital One card?
I did. I don't know where it went.
Are you telling me you did not make this purchase? There seems to be a transaction on August 20 that was posted August 21. Says direct debit payment. What in the world does that mean? It's a Capital One card. Can you enlighten me, Mr. Clark?
I am not sure. I'm looking at the statement that has that from August 20th. I mean, Kona is a common acronym that Capital One NA uses. But I am not sure what that was for. And to be frank with you, Your Honor, I have nothing in notes that came back from the client after the fraud investigation was undergone.
Say that again?
Which I have no notes from my client post fraud investigation that indicates that that is anything that they found that would be indicative of fraud.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes, sir.
I want you to listen to me. Will you listen for a second?
Yes,
Okay. You're in a courtroom.
yes, sir.
You remember everything here?
I,
Who's this with you? Is that your daughter? Who are you?
A distant relative.
Mr. Vasquez, look at me. This looks like you made a purchase of some kind for $10,039.91. Back on August the 20th, it would have been a 24, right? You remember making such a purchase, sir?
didn't purchase with, when I did have that, card. And all they did was, I couldn't, they wanted to, they didn't allow me to use, well, from where they, accepted, they said they would give me another card, but they never did.
What did they look into, Mr. Clark? You're saying your client didn't notify it was fraud. This is a strange looking statement. It has one purchase on there for $10,039.51. Now, let's see, went out and bought a used car or something. I don't know what you spend $10,000 on, unless you bought a suite to the Tiger game or something. I don't know. But the point is, go back to your client. Why didn't you respond to this? Sir, can I ask you an honest question? Listen to me. Look at me. Look at me. Do you remember everything? I mean, anybody told you you're having a problem with your memory or anything?
Just that they went back so far.
I want you to listen. Do you remember what you did yesterday and a year ago and 6 months ago? Can you remember all that?
Yeah, it comes up there.
Yeah, I get it. I don't remember everything that happened yesterday either. I get it. Look, council, they didn't do their work on this. If they did, they didn't do it very well. I need more of an explanation. I'm setting aside the default judgment. Default judgment is set aside. He's at least raised the issue of fraud. Listen very carefully. I want everybody to listen very carefully. I don't know how you defend this as a layperson. It'd be like me at 83 or 67 trying to give myself a root canal. Not going to happen. He needs to file an answer to the complaint. I'm going to give you 1 extra week. Counsel, will you prepare the order? Defendant has 28 days to file answer to complaint and affirmative defenses. Young lady, he needs a lawyer. I don't have all the answers here. He's not going to be able to do this on his own. And anybody else doing it other than a lawyer is engaging in the unauthorized practice of law. So will you prepare an order saying I'm setting aside the default judgment? Counsel, the defendant has 28 days to file an answer to complaint, affirmative defenses. And I will set this for pretrial. I want to do it quickly. I'll do it quickly. Do you have any money? Where do you work at? I mean, where did you work at?
I worked with, I worked with, people with, it's difficult to say it. I wanted to
just say what was going on. I got a phone call. And it was all,
Young lady, come on up here,
yeah,
please.
You can stand right at the podium.
What's your name and what's your relationship with him?
My name is Holly Tiss, Your Honor.
Tiss?
Thisse.
Thisse, okay.
And my husband's grandfather is first cousins of David's wife. We met them less than a year ago at church by accident. They recognized our.
Say that again, say that again.
We met them last.
No, say your.
My husband's grandfather is David's wife Sally's first cousin.
David's. Sally's. First cousin, okay. Does he have a hard time recollecting things?
Yes. There is a connection
I
that,
sensed that and I didn't want to,
yes.
you know where he worked?
And Ford,
Did you work for Ford Motor?
yes, 39 years.
Okay, so he's collecting a pension.
yes.
I don't know what else I can do other than what I just did. He's gonna need a lawyer. This is sad when I see these situations. Seems like he's being as honest as he can. Somebody's gonna have to get him to a lawyer. I'm gonna give him 28. I'm gonna give him an extra week to answer the complaint, okay? I don't know what else I can do. And then Linda set this for a pretrial, and I want it set mid-October, okay? You guys can just send out a notice whenever you want.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm really sorry. You seem to be a very nice person to help out like that. Not a lot would do that. I wish you well, sir. Sorry, Mr. Clark. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not, but under the circumstances, I think this is my only option that's fair. So that's
It's
it.
all good. It does look like that debit. I know we're past the point now. It looks like that debit may have been a charge off code because
Okay.
there are a bunch of, it looks like NRA membership fees that have been paid. The balance is built up quickly. It's just that last statement looks a little iffy.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but yes, this works for my office. This is fine.
Have a good day. Thank you.
And Mr. Poshog or Ms. Whiteside, who's gonna be the primary speaker this morning?
I would like to be.
Okay, Ms. Whiteside. All right, you're neighbors of Mr. Yost, is that right?
That's correct. We live 7 houses away.
And you indicate in your petition that Mr. Yost yells at you, he threatens you. So give me some specifics.
Right. So I would like to speak first because this last incident, and the reason I have to look this way to look at Walker, but I guess the camera is here. But the most recent incident involved me, but I would say my husband is really the target of the anger. But we filed this petition because I was now involved in not feeling safe. So do you want me to just tell you what happened on that incident?
Sure.
Then? Okay.
And actually, before you start, let me make
Okay,
sure.
yeah.
Mr. Yost has filed documents himself. Have you
Yes.
reviewed those documents?
Yeah, I have them here. And so what I was going to say, first I have a question because I've never been through this before. Is there a transcript of what's happening right now?
We're making a recording,
A recording, okay.
and if you want a transcript of it later, you can
We
make that
just didn't
request.
see cause to hire a lawyer and file official documents. So I just, there were 2 things I wanted to correct in Walker's statement that are about me, since this is a legal document, and just in case, and my name is not spelled C-A-L-I, it's minor, but if there's a record.
Okay.
That's not correct. If you want to Google me, you won't find me as C-A-L-I. Also, I am not from a wealthy family in Philadelphia. I don't know who Walker's thinking of when he says that in this document. And that is not me. Okay, so just 2 clarifications. So I don't even know, it's been probably 6 weeks ago. We were walking our dogs, and we have had our son's dog to the lake, which is adjacent to Walker's property. We have to walk past his driveway to get to a gated community lake. And we saw his adult son, 21-year-old son, walking Walker's dog. George is the dog, Bodie is the son. We've known Bodie his life. He's 21 years old now. Our daughter used to babysit him and his little brother. Our daughter's 32 now. We stopped to talk to Bodie and ask him how he was doing. And we had our son's dog, who was a long-haired dog and shaggy, and we've always had labs. And we said, Bodie, where do you get George groomed? We've never had to use a groomer. At that point, I wasn't aware that Walker had pulled into his driveway. I hadn't seen him, didn't know he was there. And this is where it's different than the order of what he says happened. When I was first aware that Walker was present, Bodie turned to the driveway and said, Dad, where do we get George? And Walker came charging out of his driveway yelling, don't you dare talk to my kid. Don't you dare come on my property and talk to my kid.
Yeah, just address me. You don't need to.
Okay. I want to see his face.
Yeah,
though.
just address me.
Okay. Don't you dare come on my property and talk to my kid. And I'm still shocked. I was in shock. I was like,
Or 30.
Walker.
Okay, no, one at a time.
Yeah. I said, Walker, we're standing in the road. We're not on your property. We're standing in the road. And he said, you're in front of my mailbox. And don't you dare talk to any of my kids. And at that point, he says that he told Bodie, go walk his 21-year-old son, go walk the dog. I never heard that. What I saw was Bodie look at the ground and just walk away. And my feeling was, ooh, he doesn't want to be crossways with his dad. So he walked away. Unfortunately, he was a witness, walked away. But the other things that I wanted to correct is that I never saw a phone in Walker's hands. He says he had a phone and had it on speaker, and someone was able to hear. If he had it on speaker and it was in his pocket, I don't know how that witness could have heard accurately. But I never saw phones, so I wanted to correct that. And it's interesting that he documented also in what he filed is the text message he sent not to just one of the board members of our neighborhood association, he sent it to all of them. Although Ted never received a copy, it looked like he was on the list, but we couldn't find it in his phone. But saying in the text message, don't trespass on my property. And where this really concerns me is, does he perceive that his property extends from his driveway to the mailbox? We have to walk down that city road to get to our community park, which we pay, neighborhood dues to use this gated community park, to use the lake. If his perception is that's his property, then since this event, I've been walking with my phone in my hand, with my camera on in case I need to document anything. And it makes me feel very unsafe. The other really important thing I want to correct is that I stepped it. There were back and forth yelling between my husband and Walker. I stepped between them because I am conflict averse and I wanted to de-escalate the situation. And I stepped in front of my husband with my hands down and said, Walker, stop. Just stop it, stop. Because he was approaching us and getting closer. And he looked right through me. He was trying to get his face as close to Ted's as he possibly could to yell in his face. And he didn't acknowledge that I was a human being standing in front of him. He pushed into me to get as close. He didn't touch me with his hands. He didn't threaten me, but he pushed into me to get as close as he could to my husband. And when he says in here that Ted said he was going to throw something at him, and he said, go ahead. I think Ted said, I'm going to call the police. And Walker said, go ahead. We went into that. So there was a long period of time before we made it home and called the police, and the police came and took our statements. And Walker says that he sent the text message right away. If you look at the timestamps, you can see he sent it after the police came, the text message to all the board members. But what surprised me next was when the police officer took my statement, he said, would you like to press charges? And I was really surprised. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, did he push into you? And he said, yeah, he did. And I said, no, I do not want to press charges. I do not want to provoke Walker. I just want him to stop. I want to de-escalate this. But it was important to document it because this is the third time, and I will say honestly that my husband has told me of Walker yelling at him, and I thought I didn't see it, but I saw it this time, and it was shocking, and it came out of nowhere like a rocket, and it alarmed me. The other thing in here that involves me that I want to correct is there was an occasion where Walker asked me to ask Ted to stop talking about him. That did happen, but actually, and he says in here, he talked to me because Ted had stopped talking to him. What actually happened was we walked out of our house with our dog, which I guess is what we're usually doing when we're walking on the street. And there's Walker waiting out on the road in front of our house. And Ted and I were together. And Walker said, Callie, would you please tell your husband to stop talking about me? And Ted was standing right behind me, and it felt really absurd. I'm like, okay. And I turned to Ted and I said, Ted, stop talking about Walker. Because it was like, okay, why don't you just tell him that? He's standing right here. So anyways, I just think he's misportraying the interactions. There's so many more things that I would like the opportunity to correct, but my husband is extremely friendly. He talks to everyone in the neighborhood, and Walker even says that in here. If you want to know what's going on locally, you ask Ted, because he talks to everyone. That is true. And sometimes he talks to excess. That is true also, and that's here. He's also known to walk through the neighborhood with his blower and blow people's driveways off for them. We have an elderly neighbor. She really appreciates it. We have a neighbor with health issues. He really appreciates it. Not everybody really appreciates it. If they say, please don't do that, he doesn't do it. My husband was president of the neighborhood association. I think we were trying to remember exactly 2 years, and on the boards for at least 3 years. So he's been very involved also in maintaining the community park. He does trim bushes. He loves to do yard work and landscaping, and he doesn't own a machete. I don't know what that's about, but he does have lockers, and he does trim bushes that are hanging out in the road and whatnot. And he does trim the bushes adjacent to the entry to the park, which also is adjacent to Walker's property. That is true. One more thing about that, I guess I want to say, because this has happened since 4 weeks ago when we came to court to resolve this, and Walker asked for an extension. So after this last incident, which happened right in front of the community park, and we ended the situation by getting ourselves inside the park and locking the gate behind us. And Ted and I went and sat on the dock, which is usually a really tranquil place for us. And we were trying to calm down after this last encounter. I said, you know what? I cannot relax here because you can look straight across and see Walker's dock and his properties right there. I'm like, we need to just go home. And Ted said, we need to call the police. Since then, we were in the park, and I was laying on the dock, and George, the dog, came running in and like trampled me as I'm laying on the dock. George has boundary issues. If someone has boundary issues, it's George, but he's an adult male, unneutered dog, and he behaves the way you would expect an adult male, unneutered dog to behave, I guess. But we're like, what are you doing in the park? I stood up and I was like, George, go home, George, go. And I walked him to the end of the dock. But instead of George walking straight up to the gate where everyone comes and goes, he walked to the fence adjacent to Walker's property. And I thought, how is he getting through there? He's not supposed to be able to let himself into the park. And a couple of visits later, when I noticed I was not comfortable to go investigate if I thought Walker was home, but he wasn't home. And I went to look at the fence, and it's been unbolted from the post and open, panel's been open so that he can come freely from his own property into the park, where I used to feel safe if I could shut the gate behind him. And know also that an unleashed dog isn't going to just let himself in, you know. And apparently there was a so-called incident with a deer that, I don't know, the board's dealing with it, but I no longer feel safe in the park even because it's completely open to, it's an extension of his backyard now. So that, when I saw what he said about Ted thinks he owns the park, I just thought, well.
Add something to that, Aaron.
Yeah, I think that was the main things that I wanted to say. Oh, I did want to say something about Ally's declaration. Can we go back and forth, or
No.
would you rather finish with me?
Yeah.
Okay. We've been told by several neighbors, again, Ted knows everyone in the neighborhood, and they talk to him. It isn't just him talking to them. They come, they approach him, talk to him. And we've been told by several that Walker had been making the rounds and asking people to make a statement against Ted. And they were like, I wanted to let you know. I said no. I thought it was really weird and made me uncomfortable that he asked me that. But so Ally lives directly, her property kind of faces Walker's and then the park. And she and her husband, Travis grew up in the house, and they purchased it from Travis's dad and his stepmom, and Ted knows the dad really well, but they've retired and moved out of state. But so Ally, she says she's been there about 2 years. And I just have really strong feelings about this, and I'm going to try and stay really calm. But as a mother, what comes to mind is she might not like how Ted delivered the message, but when you're a neighbor, if you feel like there's something unsafe happening in the neighborhood, if you see something, say something. And I'm upset because our daughter used to babysit for Walker and his first wife, Anne Marie. And she spent a lot of time in that house. And when you find out later, it wasn't safe. You feel like you didn't protect your child. And I would want, if I was Ally, I would want to be told. If someone had concerns, I would want to be told. And what Walker doesn't like is that we're friends with his ex-wife, Anne Marie. We're friends with his ex-wife, Bobby Jean. We're friends with his adult sons. And we're friends with them. And he might not like us talking to them, but they're human beings, and they have a right to say they don't want to talk to us, but I don't think Walker has a right to tell us we can't talk to them. And we know because of talking to them that they both have had protection orders and that there have been incidents in the home. And I think there's a duty to warn, and if you see something, say something. And I don't always like how my husband delivers messages, but I think it was important to say something when you know that there's a child playing in the home. I do want to say, I don't think Walker would hurt the children. I would hope he wouldn't hurt the children. I'm not saying that he's a threat to the children. I just know, because I've witnessed it, that he has a short fuse and a very aggressive anger. And it's intimidating and it's scary. And I wouldn't want my child to be present when that goes off. That's what I want to say about Alice. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Cruz, do you have questions?
Yes, I do, just briefly, Your Honor. I do know, okay, so I want to talk about the most recent incident on July 26th, and I have, I guess, a question for either one,
Well,
because,
Yeah, right now it's just questions for Ms. Whiteside since she's the one who just finished testifying.
okay. Well, I guess, I mean, she's already testified, but Ms. Whiteside, is this the most recent incident that you testified to? Is that the only incident that you have with Mr. Walker in what you describe as acting this way?
With me personally, yes.
Okay.
When he asked me to stop, to tell Ted to stop talking about him, he was very calm. I appreciate it.
Okay. So he was calm.
In the other incident, this incident, he was everything but calm. He was enraged.
Okay. And you've known Walker for 20 plus years, correct?
Correct. We knew his wife, Anne Marie, before that, actually, before they moved in the neighborhood. But yes, we've known him
Okay.
since.
And so you've had many, times where you've spoken to him, and nothing like what you're testifying today has ever occurred to you.
Well, I will say I don't go out and talk to the neighbors as much. I walk the dog and I say hello to people, yes. And I expect them to be friendly, and I would expect Walker to be friendly, and yes.
Okay, I just want to know that you've had
I'm
other
more of an
encounters.
introvert, and I don't socialize in the neighborhood as much.
Okay, but you've had other encounters, correct, with my client in these about 20 years, correct?
He was never.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I
Okay,
wouldn't say
thank
I know Walker well at all,
Okay.
but I have had encounters.
Okay. The incident where you're saying his dog ran over to you, when was that?
Actually, I'm gonna, we don't need to get into that. That's not gonna, okay, well.
In the last.
No, okay, hold on. That's not gonna play into my decision
Okay.
regarding order between the parties, what happens with the dog, so.
Okay. I don't have any questions for Carolyn.
All right, thank you. Mr. Foshaw, go ahead.
I'd like to, my name's Ted Theodore Foshaw. I'd like to make a couple interesting points. When Walker was interviewed by the police, he said that I had it looked like a water bottle. And now in this sworn statement right here, he says it's a wine bottle and I was going to hit him with it.
Okay.
It was this.
This is what we'd gone to a concert at San Michelle Winery. This is the glasses they give you. I thought it was cool.
Plastic.
It's plastic. It's light as a feather.
It might have looked like glass.
And there was about this much. It was a mix of a little bit of wine and spindrift. And I was like this. Callie's head was here and his nose was right here in my face, just screaming. And I'm like, Walker, I'm going to throw this at you, meaning get back. I wasn't going to hit him. I wasn't going to, do that kind of thing. But to have somebody spitting, screaming, beat red head and face, going, don't talk to my fucking kids. Don't you get on my fucking property. And we're like, hey, we're at the park. Leave us alone. That's what's been like. Prior to that, I'd spent 3 hours working at the park. Came down with my dog, taking a shower. I'm opening the gate. It's a very heavy, large lock with a too short chain. So I'm fiddling, trying to get it undone. And here comes his dog around the corner. He's a big dog. He's probably 80 pounds. And he's a nice dog, but not to other neighbor dogs. I now know of 2 people that were
Okay,
so.
okay.
But anyway, this is important because he said in there that I let his dog out. And I said, what? And the dog pushed so hard, it pulled my finger back, trying to get my finger out of the lock and shoved the gate open. I'm like, geez, George, this is what we deal with all the time since he's had that dog. He takes off. I'm like, George, get back here. I didn't know if his dad was in the park or not. So I'm going, George, and he comes around the corner. He goes, did you just do what I think you did? This is how he talks to his neighbor. And I said, what do you mean? George just pushed me and about ripped my finger off. He goes, yeah, you let my dog out. I said, no, I did not let your dog. He wouldn't quit. I said, fine. I turn around, I start walking away, and he's coming after me. Literally, 2 fists in the air going, I'll fucking beat your head in. I'm like, what? And I'm walking faster. I don't know where the dog was. And in here he says, my dog could get hit by a car. It's a dead end road, first of all. And said that he's so worried. He keeps coming. I have sworn at him one time. I said, F off. I'm sick of this. That's the one swear word. If he says I swear at him, tell me some of the swear words. I have never sworn. I don't cuss. I don't yell at my kids. I don't swear to my kids. He kept coming. So I turned around and I headed two houses down is the president's home, and her husband was there and she wasn't. I was so shaken like right now. And I'm like, guess what just happened? Good Lord, I can't believe it. Where's this going to go? I called the police on that. But of note, he talks about the dog being unsafe and that I let him out on purpose. Guess what? Wednesday morning, I had a contractor at my house. We were at the end of his tailgate was right on the road, looking at his product sample for gutters. I'm looking over and here comes George out of our front yard. I didn't see Walker anywhere. I don't know if he was
With the
walking.
dog isn't important.
Well, I realize that, but the complaint is I let his dog out on purpose.
Okay.
And here's his dog in my yard. Was he worried that he was going to get hit by a car? I don't know. But Walker has a very suspicious nature. He sends me this picture, and it's the neighbor lady who's the president in the park with a
Your Honor,
contract.
I'm sorry. I haven't
anyway.
seen that, Your Honor.
Okay. So you want to? Okay. Anyway, it's a picture he sends to me. And I said, why are you sending me this? And he goes, you know all. It's because there were 2 gates that went to the side of the lake property that's adjacent to his property. They were always collywobbled, and that's how the dog used to get through. And he was asked over and over. Finally, the board spent $1,000 to have those 2 gates removed and new fence put in with the metal cleat and all the clips. That's what's been unattached and removed, and now it's hanging over. We just paid $1,000.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance.
And
All right, Ms. Cruz, as you can tell, I'm giving you lots of leeway here. So.
well, the point is a lot of the contention is his dog down on the lake. Another thing that happened recently, his dog jumped in. This leads to Allie. His dog jumped in and he comes at you like this, trying to get you. Big dog. And she had just gotten off her paddleboard. We're coming up to the dock and I'm like, yeah, trying to hold George back. Finally, Walker shows up on the dock and he's like, George, I'm not kidding. He staggers about 3 or 4 times. I'm right here watching it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Finally, he reaches in, he grabs the dog's collar, jerks him out of the lake and throws him on the dock. And he stepped backwards like 3 or 4 steps. And I thought, wow. When I talked to Allie, Allie, her little daughter had been down there swimming. She's
Okay.
pretty little.
All right.
I don't need to hear everything that goes
Okay,
on in the neighborhood.
but
All
what
I
I-
need to hear is what happens between you and Mr.
Okay.
Yost.
But he's put this in here
Okay,
and
that's all I need to hear.
her statement
What
says, I
happened?
said he's a habitual drunk. I've seen Walker drink beer a few times. He's not a habitual drunk. I never said that. Why would I say that? I just said, it's weird. It seemed like he might have been. Anyway. So, yes, I did make a statement with his custody issue because I knew somewhat of it had been going on. I had heard some of the noises. I had seen some of the things happening, and this was a pattern from his prior two boys and their mother. Walker called me one day and said, Ted, give me a ride to pick up the boys. I'm like, well, he goes, I'm at your car. I came outside, I drove him over, pulled up the driveway. He rolled the window down about 2 inches. He leans back and he goes, where are the boys? To Anne Marie, the boys' mother. She said, Walker, you are 20 minutes late. They are finishing their dessert. She goes, they were out here. And he goes, get them now. And rolled the window up and looks over at me. And I thought, you'd be like that in front of me? So Anne Marie's tone of voice was very strong because of what she's dealt with for years. So I've had two neighbors approach us walking in the last couple of days. One of them said, you know, that we don't go down the street anymore because George attacked our dog and when our husband picked it up.
He just wants to.
Yeah, but I didn't go down and say anything about that. If I was so angry and gonna run down and give him a bad time around, I don't go on his property. I will tell you, true fact. About 2 years ago, after he bought the house, I don't know the exact time frame, and the gentleman that had the person come and do the tree work said, I don't remember dates like that, and I don't want to get involved in the Walker Triangle. But I heard chainsaws. We have covenants in our neighborhood, but the main thing is his property
doesn't
is
matter.
on
Yeah.
wetlands. I walked down there and I said, Walker, what are you doing? And he immediately went into, off my property, go, blah, 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 and walked all the way to, and I'm like, whoa, I couldn't believe it. But he clear cut all the way to the lake on land that is not his and on wetlands, which is totally wrong. So have I been on his, he says I go on his property about 2 years ago. I haven't set foot. I used to blow his driveway. I'd take his garbage cans in, but you know, 4 years, we've been to their kids' birthday parties. And he says that I snoop in his finances. I was at the birthday party one time downstairs, and Anne Marie comes in and goes, so-and-so's at the door. They send him down. They went into a small room. It sounded like they locked the door behind him. He came out. He had a very old paper grocery bag that had been rolled and it was all wrinkly under his arm. He turns around and heads up, and boom, turns around, there's Walker, and he goes, yeah, his friend came by to pick up some books. Books?
Okay.
Yeah.
You're getting into things.
But that, see, he says, I've meddled in his finance. Like, you haven't been to work in 3 years. How do you pay all your bills? So, yeah.
You know, all I want you, Mr.
Yeah.
Poshak, is to tell me why you need a protection order, not all the different.
Because
things
this
that
is the third time this has happened to this level. And I know he's under a lot of stress, financially, emotionally, hired multiple lawyers, fighting another protection order. I get that. That's why we don't want anything to do with him. I was on the board for 20 some years. I went off, and as soon as I got off, they need people. People don't want to be on the board. Walker was there. I wasn't. We were out of town, so he's on the board. So I approached the president and said, do you really want someone on the board that has been arrested for domestic violence? Is that okay to be on the board? And I said, I don't want anything to do with the board. I won't run for the board again until this changes. I've mowed the lawn down there for 7 years.
Okay,
I don't do
why
anything.
you need protection from Mr. Yost? That's all I need to
Because with my wife there,
And with his son standing there, here's what triggered him. I could see his son standing at the corner like this, witnessing him running over after us. He turned around and started to walk away. And then he turned back and I don't know what he was yelling. It was all so loud. And I said, Bodie, do you see what we have to put up with your dad? That's when he walked away. And then Walker told him, go walk the dog. He just yelled it at him in the same tone he was yelling at us. And to have him bump into Callie and be right here, that's like, what does it take? The first incident like that, when he came after me, I called the deputy and he said he said he was going to beat my fucking head in 3 times. And he said,
when did that occur?
I don't have that report right here in front of me. It's in the record. It's through the sheriff's department.
Like that was before COVID. It's been years ago.
Not before COVID.
There
I
was
don't
no.
think so.
Just give me an approximation. A year, 5 years.
A few years, yes. But that it hasn't been that long. Anyway,
Get foot issues.
the deputy sheriff's asked me on the phone. My grandfather's a deputy sheriff. I grew up playing in the jailhouse. Okay, I have great respect for law enforcement. He said, "Did he say he would kill you?" And I said, "No, he did not say he would kill me. He said he would beat my effing head in. Let's have it out. Come on, right now, me and you." And I'm like, that doesn't, I said, can you just go talk to him and say, hey, did this happen? Like, no, we don't have the deputies to do that.
So,
But
there's that incident. There's the incident in front of the mailbox. You said there was a third.
When he came into our drive.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cruz, any questions for Mr. Poshak?
Yes. The incident where you said he came into your driveway, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And this is not something that was in your petition, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. How long ago was that?
Probably 2 years ago. Wouldn't you guess?
Time is
Yeah.
so weird. We've lived there so long.
We've lived there 27.
I would say, I mean, I think what
Okay,
we're
no,
getting
no,
at
right,
here
right,
is.
right. I'm sorry. Right now, it's just Mr. Poshak answering.
Okay.
But you don't know when it was.
Right.
Okay, Ms. Cruz, go
Okay.
ahead.
But it's been
Okay,
in
no,
the
okay,
in
hold
the
on.
3. Sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Cruz.
Okay. And will you please remind me what was said in the driveway? Since it's not something that was in your petition, I wasn't prepared.
Say that again.
What was said in the driveway? Your
Just
driveway.
exactly what Carolyn said, that he did this thing about saying that he wanted me not to talk to anyone else in the neighborhood. The irony of that is neighbors have come to me and said, hey, have you had problems with Walker?
Okay.
That's what's opened
So-
the
so
conversation
just-
because their dogs have been attacked by his dog.
Okay, so just sticking to my question, right? Did my client come to you and did he say not to have any more contact with him?
He did not say that. He
So
did
what-
not ever say, don't have contact. He did say, don't come on my property, which I
Okay.
haven't been there 2 years, at least
Okay.
2 years.
So he said, don't come on my property. And what else was said?
I think he made that fairly short and sweet, walked away.
Okay, so he said,
He did
don't.
not swear at me that day, if that's ruined. No, he did not.
Okay.
Because he's present.
So on that day, the most recent incident, when you are walking on July 26th, you say in your petition, you're walking to kind of this neighborhood park, correct? I just want to
Yes.
be clear that you walked up to Bodie. Bodie did not walk up to you.
Bodie was standing at their mailbox right at the corner. It looked almost like he was leaning against it. That mailbox is about 30 feet from the end of his
I
driveway.
just to my question, sorry, you went up to my client's son. My son's client did not walk up to you, correct?
Who's 21 years old. But
Correct.
what you have to know, he
Sir,
stops in our
sir,
yard.
Sir,
Yeah.
please, you walked up to his son, correct?
I did.
And this was
And so did Cal.
after you've had prior incidents where he says, stay off my property, where you allege that he said he'll beat your fucking head in, and such. You still went up to his son and felt that that was appropriate, right?
I don't have any problem with his son. His son loves us. He's asked us to walk
I
with
just
us.
want to know. And then this is after you made a statement against my client in a family law case involving another child. Is that correct?
My statement against Walker.
I didn't make a statement against Walker. What I said is, here's what I experienced.
Okay, you made a statement in my client's family law case, not on behalf of him, but on behalf of the other party involving his child. Is that correct?
I
Do I have
made a
that right?
statement about what happened between us.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, and then however, you stated that you have been on his property, correct? Is that right?
I stated I have been on his property.
When there was a tree cutting
I've been in
incident, you
his
walked
house
on.
and at his children's birthday. My daughter
Okay,
babysat for
you
over
walked,
a year.
sir, you walked on his property during the tree cutting incident. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And did he kind of guide you off of his property and let you know he did not want you on his property?
Guiding or threatening me?
Did he lead you off of, did he let you know he did not want you there?
Correct.
Okay. Were you confused by that?
I had not seen that kind of behavior from Walker, but I know he has boundary issues. I know that about his childhood.
Okay, but you're stating that my client has boundary issues?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he won't leash his dog.
Hold
for
on,
one.
sir. Sorry.
He's
We're
intimidated
just,
many of the
sir.
neighbors. Those are boundary issues.
Sir.
Yeah.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor. I just have some questions for my client.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so Walker, are you there?
Yeah. Do you want me
Okay.
closer?
Yep, I've just got some questions for you. The petitioner here, he's been a neighbor for 20 years, give or take. Give me a quick overview of your relationship and how it's progressed over the years, just quickly.
Oh gosh. Quickly, 20 years. Let's see. I've known Ted and Callie for 20 years, and we share a mutual friend who's been friends with their family for more than that. So there was definitely some camaraderie in that sense of, oh, okay, I have a good friend, they're friends. And but I didn't know Ted. And then the first time that I met him outside of the park was at Fred Meyer, and Ted would always talk for extended periods of time. You know, I drive by, we talk through the window, and then at Fred Meyer one time he stepped right in front of my cart and started talking. And I was like, huh, okay. And I just leaned back on my cart and he talked for 45 minutes. And I was just amazed. And then after that, I kind of just knew that this was Ted, that this was the man that was going to keep talking. And so after that, I literally would just say, bye, Ted. And I would just drive off or walk off with the understanding that I was being rude and a general respect to most people, but with him, it was a mandatory thing for me to carry on with my day. Um, let's see, I did split with my first wife, and I was never around when their daughter came and babysat, so I don't even know if that's true, but sure, I don't see why not. And I think at some point, she moved out, I moved back into the house, in the hopes of purchasing it, and my name was on the lease. And we had a good friendship. I felt neighborly in that regard. I mean, I pressure washed his roof. Um, as a thank you when I wasn't living there because, you know, I was just being kind, neighborly. Um, but then it kind of shifted. I don't know why or what happened. And it sort of occurred after the time he came onto my property and started yelling and cursing about the tree trimming. And I just was kind of shocked, and I walked him gradually just as he spoke and I spoke. He followed me. I walked him up to the driveway, and then that was him getting off. And I never cursed at him. Um, but he did ask me at that time, you know, why I wasn't allowing him on my property, and why he asked me why I was upset that he came on my property. And I told him then that, you're not in my friend circle, Ted. And he seemed very upset by that. And I I said, you're close. I said, we share a very mutual friend who is, and but you talk behind my back, you tell people my business, and I've asked you not to do that, and it continues to happen. And that was the end of that. And it wasn't anybody yelling that I recall, other than when he came onto the property and was cursing at me for having somebody trimming branches on my tree on my property. But after that, he stopped talking to me, and he was very curt and rude. And I saw him and Callie on the dock, and I said, hey, Ted, it's all love, man. Like, just because you're not in my circle doesn't mean like I don't care for you. And he ignored me, and I was like, okay. And then after that, I heard that he was telling people that I was dealing drugs. And I was like, what? And so then I bumped into them as I was walking my dog, and they were walking their dog. And I spoke to Callie because he wasn't talking to me. And I asked her to tell him to please have him not tell people lies about me. I didn't even know about the one he's telling people I'm a drunk. I don't drink, so I don't know what he's talking about. Never been drunk in front of him or anybody. So that was the first kind of like interaction. I didn't curse at him. The other time we were in the lake, I was in the park before him, I guess. And he walked in. I was down by the water. My dog, when he hears the jingle of the gate, he runs, and Ted let him out. And I just walked over and I said, Ted, why are you letting my dog out? And it's at the end of a road, but there's a continuation of a road. There's 5 more houses that have cars coming. So yes, there is a danger for him to get hit by a car. I called my dog back in, and I said, why are you letting my dog out? And he started cursing at me. And I don't know why he was angry with me for asking him why he's letting my dog out. My dog is a golden doodle, so I don't know. Anyways, I was threatened at that point. I never went on the other side of the gate. I simply called my dog back in. I closed the gate. He's yelling at me. And I said, do you want to keep cursing at me? Why don't you come back on this side of the gate? And then he walked off, and that was the end of that. As for him getting involved in my case with the mother of my child, that was quite shocking. I don't know why he thinks he owns my house or ever owned my house. That was a little bit weird. He never has. What else are we talking about? So then after that, what happened? Oh yeah, we didn't have any contact after that, like nothing. I was like, okay, well, there goes that relationship. And then I heard about him telling my neighbor that I was a drunk, and I was like, this guy's still going on. And then What else happened?
Just the most recent incident, really quick, involving your son.
Oh, that one. So then I drove home and I'm sitting in my car, I'm talking to Russell, and all of a sudden I hear him. I wasn't even gonna get involved in it. If he's talking to my son's an adult. Okay, like I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. But then I heard him asking my son where we get our dog groomed. And after him filing his thing with the mother, I didn't feel safe with any information being given to him about my life. And so I stepped out of the car, I walked calmly out, and I said to my son, I said, we do not talk to him, we do not share information with him. Please just go walk the dog. At that point, they were very upset that I had interrupted this conversation. And he started yelling at me, no one likes you, you're a fucking asshole. And then I started yelling at him and said, do not speak to my children. Do not speak to my children, Ted. And he started cursing at me, saying I was drunk, saying all these crazy things to me. And I said to him,
Look,
you need to stop. You need to stop talking to my children. And instead of him just saying, okay, he kept saying that I was these terrible things and cursing at me. And at some point, because I'm yelling at him, he threatened to throw that thing at me. I didn't know what it was, other than it was a cup filled with something that looked red. And at that point, his wife, who had been off to the side, not involved in our yelling, jumped in front of him, because if he had thrown at him, then it would have been assault. And at that point, my friend who was on the phone, Russell, was just like, walk away. And I did. I walked away. I never raised my fists. I never threatened him. I never touched Callie. Yeah. I mean, that was that.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I think my client has kind of he's cleared everything up. I just have a quick closing.
Okay. Just a moment.
Can I respond to his?
In 2 minutes. Right now.
Oh, 2 minutes.
You get 2 minutes.
Okay.
No more than that.
He did not hear me ask his son where the grooming was. As soon as he pulled up, rather quickly through the door, jumped out, grabbed his sunglasses, and he goes, "Don't talk to me. Stay off my phone." And we're like, "Whoa!" And he goes, "Dad, where do we get George trimmed?" And he goes, "None of your business." And so, did he calmly walk over? No. Was his son worried and concerned? Yes. But I have a concern. He was a witness and he heard me say, because I could see him stand there, "See what we put up with your dad." I said that for a reason, so that Walker could hear that your kids and us are communicating about what you're doing right now. They never interviewed him. But he magically says he had his phone in his hand. He had his sunglasses in his hand. The other hand was open. There was no phone being held up. That's why when we saw this, like, what? I said, "Did you see a phone?" He had his glasses in his hand. So I don't know quite how it happened because it's not clear from the report, but it's interesting to me. An eyewitness you don't interview. But someone who was on the phone, you call them back and hand them the phone and say, "Here, this guy listened to the conversation." In the original report, they said that Ted was not yelling or cussing at anyone, but something I could tell they were talking loudly or something like that. In the next statement that he signs and sends into court, he says that I was cussing and yelling. And I find it interesting. What did I say? What cuss words have I used? I have not. I did not call him a drunk. I said to her, I don't know, maybe he was drunk and he was really staggering, and the way he jerked the dog out of the lake and just continued to drag him back to the dog.
All right.
So
let's
have I
wrap it up.
cursed and yelled? Did he calmly walk me off the property? Absolutely
Okay,
not.
all right, we've now gone through a number of different incidents. Okay, thank you. All right, briefly, Ms. Cruz.
Thanks, Judge. So pretty much what we have here is I think the past incidents, like we've heard, they're pretty old. But we're not even precisely sure when. 2 years, maybe three, who knows, possibly four. But I think my client made it clear. He told them, and which the petitioner testified to, he said he just, kind of said, hey, stay off my property or leave me alone or whatever he said. That was the petitioner's warning. Clearly it wasn't taken. So we have an incident where petitioner is walking up to my client's property when trees are being trimmed on my client's property, which he testified to and admitted that. And then it sounds like the most recent incident, he stopped in front of my client's home, which yes, he can have access to the public roadway, that's fine, but he approached my client's child. Keep in mind that he's been known to blow leaves on my client's property. He just testified that he moved my client's garbage cans. He inserts himself in situations, Your Honor. He made a statement as a neighbor. He made a statement in my client's divorce and custody case involving another child. Why would my client want this person, a neighbor, to talk to his son? And just constantly inserting himself. I think we heard today that the petitioner does have a tendency to talk. So, my client saying, hey, you seem to be an individual who likes to gather information and possibly spread it around. He's made it clear, I don't want you on my property. I don't want you, spreading information about me. I just don't want you to be around me anymore. I don't think the petitioner liked that, Your Honor. I don't think he liked that, and I think that caused some rift between the two. But regardless, my client, we submitted a declaration by another neighbor, which I think is very telling, somebody else in the neighborhood, who it doesn't sound like has, a severe friendship with one or the other. So it's somebody that is removed from the situation and has a lot to say about my client being neighborly and about the petitioner having a tendency to spread information and be in people's business. We also submitted a declaration from somebody who was on the phone with my client stating that he heard the conversation, and he did. My client said, hey, don't talk to my kids. Stay clear of my family. My client's not saying they can't walk in the road, that they can't go to the park, nothing. But hey, don't stop and talk to my kids. Don't be on my property. So if anybody's harassed, Your Honor, it's my client. My client, and I found it interesting that the petitioner testified today, quote, we don't want anything to do with him. Then why are they stopping to speak to his son? We don't have any report from any of the times that the petitioner stated that he made a police report. He can't tell you exactly what was said in a driveway incident, and we can't even tell when it was. There's a lot of frankly, Your Honor, and you've heard it, there's a lot of testimony today about a dog. I don't know if the petitioner is angry about the dog, but that is not a reason to get an anti-harassment protection order. And then I don't know whether or not statements were made about my client being an alcoholic or anything like that. I just want to point out that the petitioner was the one, in fact, out drinking wine in the neighborhood and admitted on giving testimony today, admitted on the record that he would throw a drink at my client. So he is the one today who admitted to threatening. So, Your Honor, my client, he doesn't want anything to do with these people. He is not going to their home. They are coming to his son, inserting themselves in his family law case, coming to his property. He has not made himself available to them by coming to them. So we're asking, Your Honor, to dismiss the petitioner's request today for a protection order. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I also have?
No. I think I've heard enough. Sure.
Could I possibly?
No. I've heard enough. Thank you.
Because there is a factual.
I've heard enough. Okay. There are two ways this can go, based on what I've heard and what I've read. I can enter orders against both of you, or I can not enter either order and say, stop talking to each other. You don't want court orders. That's, you don't want it. We don't want it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to deny this request for an order. It's very clear. Both have spent an hour now saying why you don't want the other one to have any contact with you. Both made that very clear to each other. I expect you should honor that. To the extent that you don't, then you have the right to say, okay, after this hour-long hearing in court, making it clear we don't want to speak to one another, they spoke to me, they come on my property, whatever it is, you can come back and file a request. But we've laid the bright line here. You both have said, I don't want to have you speaking to me. Now, let me clarify a few things. The road is the road. It sounds like a public road. Standing in front of somebody's mailbox is not being on their property. I'll be very clear about that. So I don't want Mr. Yost saying that if there's a pause in front of his house when they're on the public road, they're on his property. That's not accurate. Also, an adult child is not a child. So if the adult child wants a protection order, the adult child can come get a protection order. But in the meantime, Mr. Yost has no authority to direct somebody else not to speak to an adult. So that authority does not exist. It doesn't have to be respected as part of the understanding here. The understanding here is Mr. Yost will not have any contact with Mr. Foshog and Ms. Whiteside. Ms. Whiteside and Mr. Foshog will have no contact with Mr. Yost. That's what we're talking about here. Also, what we're not talking about here is what people say to others about them. So what Mr. Yost says to others about Mr. Foshog, what Mr. Foshog says to others about Mr. Yost, there's no authority in the court at all to restrict what people say to others about somebody. So that's not ever going to be something that this court will consider. So the fact that Mr. Foshog may have filed a petition or a affidavit in a dissolution action, he has every right to do so. The court has every right to hear it, and that should have no bearing on a subsequent protection order request. Or so all of those things happen, and they are not subject to any court restriction. So I want to be very clear on that. But we will end up being very clear that you both, three of you, have said, I don't want you contacting me, and vice versa. So that's my expectation going forward. That's why I'm denying the request for an order here, because you're all adults, and I expect a very bright line rule you can understand. So that's all we're doing today.
If I'm willing to have the order against me, would you put both into effect?
No, I'm not going to put orders in.
Well, I thought you said that was an option.
It was an option that I was thinking of, but I decided not to do it.
I understand.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Yost, the Ms. Whiteside and Mr. Foshog are obviously in court. They'll get a copy of the denial order. If you wish one, you can access it through the district court file.
And what was that, what you were describing that we can do? Do we have an appeal right to this, or what was it you said?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course you can appeal. Yeah, I did not talk at all about an appeal. What I was saying is you have the right to file an affidavit in a dissolution action.
That's what is that?
That's a divorce.
He's saying you had a right to.
Oh,
right.
okay, I'm sorry.
Whenever.
I thought this was referring to us directly.
Okay, all right, thank you all.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.